What's up, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this one, I want to talk about what's happening with the overall market and give you guys a warning about Apple's big event, not to mention some new developments on the charts. But just note that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link. If you deposit $100, you're guaranteed 5 free stocks. Deposit $1,000, you're guaranteed 15 in total, not to mention 8.1% APY on uninvested cash. Anyways, for the market, I just want to mention that with this dip that's coming to SPY, we're starting to see the market following a very similar trend as you have these big gaps below to fill. However, we'll be watching some key levels just for confirmation, and I also want to give you guys a warning about this. So today is Apple's big launch event date. They're going to be launching their new iPhone 16. Give us more updates on the next AirPod 4s that are coming out, not to mention their Apple Watch. New updates involving that. So that's going to be very, very big. Typically, when these events happen, Apple does sell off, maybe a little bit before and usually like after the event. So I want everyone to be kind of careful about this. The event is going to be starting at 10 o'clock a.m. Pacific time. That's like California time. For those who are going to be tuning in, that's in about 2 hours from now, and that's going to be at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So that's in just about 2 hours from now. Get ready for some high volatility. So far the market's trying to dip. If SPY does not reclaim 543, we're at risk of coming down to fill this gap, which could take us all the way down to about 538, which is pretty insane. There might be a dump coming, so be very careful. For Nvda, and so if SPY reclaims 543, we'd be looking for 543.8 and 545, by the way. But if we don't reclaim 543, we're at risk of coming down to fill this gap. At least 540 should be coming, so you want to be very careful. For Nvidia, it's the same thing. We have this resistance to watch for at 106. If we don't reclaim 104, at least we could be dipping down as well towards this gap area. So the 102s could be coming to Nvidia, so be careful if 104 does not hold. For Bitcoin, we pushed up to 56,000 as I predicted earlier, only to come back down. So we're going to be looking for 54,680. If that fails, this will be dumping back down. Just 54,000. I do see a risk of this tipping looking at the wick that's forming. So it looks a little bit more bearish to me. For ES, we went to about 5,580 or 5,480, excuse me. This is the level I marked right over here, and we ended up rejecting off of that. So if we don't reclaim 5,450, we're at risk of coming down towards the 5,425 area or below. So be careful. We're going to go to Tesla real quick. Tesla's looking a little bit weaker. We got this big rejection. We pushed up to about 220, so a little bit above my 217 target before getting the rejection. But if we can't reclaim 215, Tesla will likely come all the way down to fill this gap to 211. As we have this important trend line right here, there's a risk of downside for Tesla. For NQ, we look bearish. We pushed up exactly to my resistance at 18,725. That's the exact level I had marked. That's exactly as we're dipping. So now we're going to be looking at this support right over here around this 18,500 area. If that does not hold us, we could be coming all the way down to about 18,430. Eventually, these much lower levels. So there's a risk of downside. For the QQQ, we pumped about 455 only to reject. If we don't reclaim 451, we could be continuing to fall, and then we have this gap to fill, which should take us down to 447. So there's a risk of us dipping all the way down to fill that gap, so be careful. I do see a risk of that for the QQQ. For Apple, we've dumped so far all the way down to about 217, and then we have resistance to watch for around 218. If we break through those, we could be looking for a move back up towards 219.5. If we don't reclaim that, we could continue to fall. If 217 fails for us, we're going down to about 215. I do see a risk of downside, so be very careful. That's going to be very key for us. For the IWM, we're making lower highs. We rejected. If we could reclaim 209, we could turn back up. If we don't do so, we're at risk of dipping. If 208 fails us, we could be coming down to fill this gap towards 207. I do see a risk with the IWM dipping a little bit if 208 fails us, so be careful with that. For Coinbase, we are rejecting. We got a nice little pop towards 156, the exact level we had mentioned before coming back down. So if we can't get back above 152, I see us potentially dipping down to 148 at the least. So there's going to be a bit of a dip for coin if that does not hold. Amazon pumped and dumped. I was talking about the 174s. We went a little bit higher to 175 before coming back down. But look at Amazon's trend. We rejected off this high, and we have a much larger inverse cup and handle like structure. So this does look bearish to me. if we don't hold above 173.5, if we lose 173.5, we're going to come down to fill the gap towards 170. Be careful, guys. There's a risk of downside on Amazon. Meta is dipping. We got to reclaim 507 and 505 to turn back up. If we don't reclaim at least 505, I see a risk of us dipping down to about 499 at least, followed by 494. So be careful. Microsoft was a nice short. This is dumping. I hope you guys saw this opportunity as I was talking about how it may pop a little bit before coming back down to fill this gap. That's exactly what's happening. So look at this resistance around 404. That's the main resistance. And then our support's at 402. If that does not hold, I see us coming all the way down towards 400 to fill the gap. For Google, we're also looking bearish. We're looking at 150 as our resistance. Our main support's at 148. We could continue to fall all the way down to 148. So be careful, guys. I want to give you guys a little bit of an update on that. So the market looks bearish, approaching Apple's big event. SPY has this big gap, obviously. So this could lead to more downside. So I want you guys to be very conscious of that. There is a risk of more downside in the markets. However, just to be safe, we'll be watching to see what happens with Apple's event. We'll see if Apple gets a bigger dump or not. We're still holding 217, so we'll see how it goes. But honestly, just be prepared for some high volatility at 10 a.m. Pacific time or 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we'll see how things go. But just know that typically Apple does sell off after these events as well, so there might be more selling coming to Apple. So that could be used as the excuse or the catalyst to drag the market lower. They may use that as the excuse, and this will affect order flow. So we'll see how it goes. With that being said, I thank you all so much for your attention. Please have a great day. Don't forget to leave a like button if you guys really enjoyed this video. And one more thing I wanted to talk about is the VIX. Actually, I'm going to talk about this for about a minute before I conclude. For the VIX, there's something very interesting going on right here. I'm seeing that this is on the 4-hour time frame. We have a gap to fill up here. So this is also another good confluence. So the VIX has been on a bullish trend, right? We had this low here. We got a bullish breakout, came down, made a higher high, and now we're making a higher low. So the VIX might be trying to push up to these highs again. And I think we're going to try to fill the gap above. So I wanted to just call that out. This is very interesting. It's very rare for the VIX to have like intraday gaps. So I think that there's a chance this might start pushing up. So this could be a really good opportunity for shorts. If you guys didn't enter already, the opportunity is not as good looking. But if you had entered earlier during the pops for like SPY or the S&P 500, I think that implied volatility is going to go up, which is going to bring up those premiums. So I think that was a really, really good opportunity. But for those who are still holding, just be a little bit careful. Don't forget Apple's earnings could be unpredictable, but I just want to say I find it very interesting how the VIX has a gap above, whereas the market has gaps below, which could suggest that we're going to be looking for all the gaps to fill as the VIX pumps and the market dips. That's what it's looking like so far. So we will see if Apple ends up being the big catalyst to cause things to move like that. So once again, thank you guys so much for your attentions. I'll see you guys in a couple of hours for another update, and peace out.